Hey, I got something to say. I'm just so sick of hearing everyone complain. I know it's tough and I know there's pain, but hitting bottom is the only way to change. So I'll keep hustling, you keep...
Yes, we keep hustling. Welcome to CryptoEMC, everybody. My name is Rudo, also known as the Chart Artist. And with me is my co-host, trade buddy, Fibonacci Lee. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. And you?
I'm happy as always. Sorry, we are starting a little late today. Internet yet again.
Hello, Anna. Anna is from China.
Well, hello, Anna. All right. So today we're going to teach you trend lines. Now, Lee's going to sit back and relax and leave you in good hands. And I'll show you. So if you want to learn how I draw trend lines, please hit like and subscribe while you're at it. And share the love to somebody else on the interweb. Right. Okay. So I'm going to bring up my screen and teach you how to use trend lines. I'm going to take away all the noise. I want you guys to focus on our screens. Joe, please remove the comments so that we can get everybody's attention there. I'm going to do this. There we go. Everybody can see my screen nice and clean. Okay. Now, trend line. Maybe before we do that, let me change my mind. I'm going to change my mind and bring back our screens. Trend lines. What do you need to remember about trend lines? A mind.
Why laughing?
Because you can change it. A mind is a beautiful thing. You can change it. Okay, but you can't change a trend line necessarily. And we're going to show you the difference between a trend line and a momentum line. Momentum you can change. A trend line's a trend line. That's the difference. So we're going to show you a few tips and tricks how I go about it. And I just want you guys to remember, when you look at a TradingView page and you look at drawing on any TradingView, on any TA software that's out there, what you're drawing is actually just a record keeping of people's thoughts, emotions, and actions. That's it. What you're drawing bears no significance on what's going to happen on the price today, tomorrow, and next week. So with that being said, all of a sudden, you then re-embrace the fact that you need a stop limit because those lines mean nothing. It's the way that we measure and calculate risk. That's all that we use them for. Okay, so that little warning, little part snipped in there. I'm going to bring back my screen. Now, and I say, thanks for my nice haircut. Yes, I get one once every month when I shave my gray beard. So I'll be going back to scruffy mode by the end of this month.
I see that people are also making some money out there following CryptoEMC. I'm glad to find out. I'm happy to see those kind of comments.
Yes, I actually saw it. Which one was it? Jake, you did well. You made 5K to 7.3. Well done, buddy. Remember, we are not trying to make wife-changing money. I love my wife. I want to keep her. I want to make consistent money. That's the goal here. And indirectly, life-changing money will occur. Okay, so that being said, let's get to the lesson. I think everybody is in the mood for lesson. Who wants to know how to trade, draw a little trend line there while we at it, give me a 999 in the chat so I know everybody's awake and not bored of my ranting already. Now, when we look at Bitcoin, I'm going to do it on Bitcoin, and then we can do it on an altcoin like Telos or any other coin, what we want. You know, you can, you can have a look at that. So while we're doing that, let's quickly have a look at, this is Bitcoin big picture. We've got Bitcoin now 2017 all-time high and where we were the last time round. So what do I want to do? Firstly, I need to say one thing to myself before I start looking at trend lines. I would want to just see, simply put, is the momentum up or down? That's the first thing I just want to see. Now, how do I do that? I do that by using a momentum line. Now, what do you mean by momentum line? People might say, well, you take a top, you draw a line across, you break that line, that's the momentum is broken. That line, now you can move it again and say, well, new momentum is broken, new momentum is broken. You can change your mind on a momentum as much as you want. That's the beauty about momentum. The same over here. momentum line. I can put it at the top there, and I can move it down and say, see, momentum is broken. Momentum is broken. The reality, it doesn't really change anything long term. So we need a little bit more than momentum to kind of gauge where we're going to be long term. And that brings us to the Wyckoff simple laws. Now, one of those laws is supply and demand. Now, I'm going to focus on that with today's trend lines and show you how to draw a supply trend line and a demand trend line. These are lines that you don't move and shift as your narrative might change. Okay, momentum lines, you get to have fun with them. That's the fun lines. Okay, so think of them as the clay. You can move them as much as you want, but these lines you don't move. Okay, so now what do I do? Well, how do I go about it? First thing I do is I'll look at an area of consolidation. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark it up over here, and then I'm going to apply it to where we are today. And then you're going to see how significant and how powerful it is and why you should not be moving them ever again. Okay, so with that being said, let's start. So what do we have over here? We can look at this one in the middle here. We've got price moving down. At some stage, it breaks the momentum line. Now, what I've done is I've actually labeled them already. I'm calling them key momentum line. Broke the momentum and changed, and it went up. And the rest is history. But now let's have a look at what actually happened up until that point when it changed momentum. Well, simply, we have what price does. Price revolves around an axis. You can basically argue that that's the spirit of the general market, the emotion. That's the core energy of where price wants to go to. So everybody is working towards that end goal, whether they know it or not. And the frequency of the market means whether we will go up or down, but we revolve around that specific axis. Now, with that being said, let's draw in that axis. So once you spend enough time in charts and looking at candles every day, the axis is something that literally just pops and hits you in the face every time. Any coin, you just see the axis. So it takes a little bit of time for you to practice to get to that point. So I'm going to draw in the axis over here. So what do I want to see? Well, I want to see where price revolves around and then take it from there. Well, when did we lose momentum? We lost momentum there. We made a higher high. We made a higher high, and then from there on, it didn't trend in. So I'm taking that point as my interest point. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that line and I'm going to start moving it around. And guess what? What do I see when I start bringing it around? I start seeing that as that line sits there. Somewhere in the past, somewhere in the future, you can look at this. Price revolves around these levels. Now, it can become tricky. You can find more and more levels. And the reality is, if you see this, you're already one step closer to understanding what GAN is all about. And GAN is this little thing that you'll find here on your TradingView. That is a box full of the infinite possible trend lines. That's all. It just gives you them. There's all the trend lines you will ever need, but whether it's going to stay on this one or that one, that's for you to decide. Okay, so we're not going to go in that. I'm just going to show you the axis. So for me, the main axis is something that has to run parallel with the momentum, close to parallel. It never really copies the momentum to that exact T. So when I look at this and I look at the momentum and I look at this axis, I'm going to zoom into a little bit of price action. And I'm just going to fine tune this to make sure that I get the line as significant as possible. It's hitting over there, it's hitting over there, it's hitting over there, there. So for me, that's as good enough as it's going to be. Remember, what is a trend line, guys? It's not it's something that once it's there, you don't move it again. It's not a momentum line. So what I then do is I then label it. I call it the axis minor for me. Now, for me, the minor, because the predominant trend for Bitcoin is still up from way back. I mean, if we go to logarithmic, you can have a look at it. Logarithmic auto, you can see that Bitcoin in value has just been trending up. It's never really experienced a bear market. So these are minor negative entries for me in the big picture of things. Okay, I'm going to switch logarithmic off and I'm going to go back to this area where we were now. So with that being said, once you've got this trend line or this axis line drawn in, you can now take this axis line and you can copy it And as you can see on my side there, I've got a little degree measure tool switch on for TradingView. You can literally go into the settings and you can pick it up there. But for me, it's just key so that if something moves, I know that this is running at 16 degrees. That's it. You can change it and expand it and the degrees will change. But at least I know that if that is my axis line and I lock that in, any other line that I might want to redraw in the future or copy from this needs to have the same angle on that zoom for it to be a trend line. Now, that being said, when I start placing these, what do? Well, I don't have to be too complicated about it. I can take it to the top, put it on the top there, and that's why I call this is a supply line. This is when supply enters the market.
One question here. You said the angle is not going to change, but will it change if you switch time frame?
No.
Okay, well,
no, it will always stay the same. The idea is, remember, the market's got a memory and it's got a speed to it. And that never changes. That's inherently built into the market. It's remember, what is this candles that you see over here? It's all organic. It's the rate to where it grows. It means that the same question is, does the fib levels change on a smaller time frame? No. It's the same ratio of emotions and extensions built on top of each other. So I would never change them ever again. So with that being said, now if I move this supply line in and I start just drawing random lines all over, I can also go here and see, well, where's demand? I can see where demand kicked in and how demand moved forward and backwards and so forth. Now, when I do that, I can look at this area here and I can tell myself, okay, is this thing lining up to my axis?
That's a demand line, right?
Yes. Is that one lining up to my axis or to the way that price is moving? Do you feel that that's honoring my line, Lee?
Yeah.
Well, I disagree with myself. The reason why is because what is price doing? Remember, I just showed you Gone. Gone is an infinite amount of trend lines. Basically, well, not infinite. It's got basically all the possible ones. So for me at this stage, my axis might not be drawn correctly. Because if this is the case, I would at least want to see my demand line pick up the trend at that stage. Okay. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, well, maybe I need to readjust my axis and just rethink my strategy. So while I'm doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, maybe if I zoom into this area over here, I'm still going to look at that key area. There's the pivotal point.
So you want the picture perfect. You want the picture perfect actually line.
That's it. Yes. So what do? Well, we got there, and this is normally where this area becomes significant for me. I used to, and I seldom, a lot of the time still do. I draw it from that point to that point. The reason why I do it that way around is because that is the key pivotal point when everything started changing. The loss of that level set up the loss of everything else. So now if I do that and I go back to my supply line and I pull that line through now and I do exactly the same and I look at that area there, we're on that line. Let's zoom in and make it nice and big there. We're on there, we're on there, we're on there. That is then the adjusted or my axis. Let's test the axis again. Let's now take the axis line and see what we do there. Well, now if I look at it and I say supply, and I bring it down and I say, bring it to that level, look at it and I call that demand, it starts honoring these levels way more. And for me, that looks like a more realistic angle. So that's the tricky part behind us. Once we have the tricky part behind us, we can then say, well, what do we do then? Well, when I copy this line and I move it around, and I take it to these levels, what am I going to get? Well, I'm going to see how price honors these levels. If I take it high and I say, well, let's take it to those two spots over there. Let's keep the cursor there. You can see how price honors those levels. And if I do exactly the same for supply, I'm going to do that, put it over there. You can see how somewhere in the past, again, that area becomes significant. Okay, so is this anything that you can trade off just yet? No. This is just you filtering out the mess because you want to know what is the right supply or right demand line to go and look for. Now that we've got an idea of that, we filtered out the mess. We can then go and say, okay, right, what happened over here? Well, price broke momentum. So there's our momentum line. I can put it there. I can put it there. Irrelevant. Now I want to look at the same. I want to get the same axis for the trend to the upside. Now, it will always remain the same. Case in point, let's go further back in history and let's do it over there. I'm going to draw a momentum line. Remember I said momentum lines? You can move them. They like your flavor of the week type lines. Okay. We move it. When did we break? We broke around that level. So where do I want to look for my area? Well, price changed character around that level. We made a higher high, and from that point on, we trended up. So now I can realistically go and have a look at that area over there as my axis. So I'm going to draw the axis, and I'm going to make this an axis extended one, because obviously this is going to be significant longer down the line. So let's go and zoom in and make sure we've got our angles drawn out nicely. I'm just going to fine tune my adjustment to make sure that I pick up the tops and the bottoms accurately. Bottoms, tops, bottoms. You can see how price revolve around it. Now, there's the big test. We need to make sure that when we test it, that these demand levels line up. Are they lining up? No, which means I'm using the wrong level. Remember, gone. Just going to remind you, there's a array of them. So we need to identify the correct ones. And that's what Gone did by giving you the thicker trend lines. So what do we do? So, well, they're not lining up, so maybe I still need to reassess. Maybe use this angle over here. Picking up. Okay, now let's see if that then works. I'm going to do it again. Bring it up. Boom. It's working. Okay, so I've tested my theory. I've got my angle. I've got my speed. So now I know when Bitcoin trends down to what angle it will trend down, and when Bitcoin trends up to what angle it should trend up. And when it starts stepping up levels, I can see that there's more momentum coming. And when it stops stepping up these levels, these supply and demand lines, well, I can see, well, supply is getting stronger and demand's getting weaker for that matter. Now, let's zoom out and then populate this chart. So I'm going to zoom out and populate the chart. And why I say that this is accurate, because you can see how significant they are into the future. Now, yes, if you draw enough trend lines, you can be lucky. Clock's right twice a day. But I'll prove to you going forward why these are very significant. Okay, Lee, so with that, I'm going to just delete the momentum lines because, I mean, for now, we don't really need to see them. So what do I want to do? Well, what do we see? If this is demand, yet again, we can move into the past and say, well, there's a supply zone over there.
That's the magic.
That's where the magic comes. There's a supply zone over there. So what I can do is I can call this a supply line. And I can put it right on the top. I can actually look at zooming in there. If I really now want to spend time to get them accurate, I'm going to just put it right over there. Okay.
Use the magnet, no?
Can't use the magnet now. This is the tricky part. I can only use the magnet when I place the first point. From this point onwards, the control button is no longer a magnet. It becomes a copy button. So if I hold it in on the keyboard, I just duplicate the line. Okay, so same here. I'm taking that area there. So, well, there's supply sitting in at that range there. And I start moving them up. Supply sitting over there. There's supply sitting over there. And there's supply sitting over there. Now, we can start moving them into finer details a little bit later, but I just want to kind of say to you where all the relevant zones are. Let's see, supply zone. This is a little bit of a tricky one. I'm just going to move it in there. And we can move up and look at supply sitting in over there. Okay, so now we've got all these supply areas. Let's go back and look at what happened into the future. So if we look at the future, guess what? Ooh, look at this. Look at how price honors these levels. The price of a coin, any coin, has a specific speed, and it will adhere to that speed. That's what the TA is showing us there. So now I can say, okay, well, Let's move this up there, take it to the top. And what do we get? More significance. So now we've got proper trend lines. These are the ones we don't want to move. Okay, so now let's go and look at this now. So now the big question is, what will Bitcoin do? How do we then use this? Okay, well, I've got an angle to what I now know price will move in towards to the future. And I've got an angle where price will decline into towards the future. So now I've got these two lines and I can start using them. Now, I want to take a little step back and I want to just remind you guys about this chart. You remember this chart? Anybody that hasn't, just go and watch any of the other videos we've made. This is Bitcoin in the past. This is our price discovery impulse with the previous all-time high of 2013. And that was the optimism wave leading up to the euphoria wave and giving us the 2017 all-time high. Okay, so with that being said, I believe that we're stuck within this optimism wave. That being said, if we look at this area over here, what have we done? This is now today. We're in the optimism wave. We've created the price discovery impulse just like the past, and these are 2017 all-time high, and we are fighting things out in this area. So now let's go back to this chart over here. That same date and time, if we move back to, just jump back, I just want to get the date and time for you guys. Move to this area, we're looking at July, August, May 2017. I'm going to flip back to this trend chart of mine. July, August, June 2017. So it's this lateral trend that we had over there. So what did we do there? Well, we were trending down. You can agree with me on that. It's simple to see. You can even draw a momentum line on those tops and see that we are trending down. So now let's come and take this chart. And the reason I use the one in the middle is to say that it works back. It still works if you go into the past, and it has to work. Then it will work when you go into the future. So that being said, I'm going to take that line and I'm going to move over here. Now, I just want to speed up and clean the mess. So I can literally just flip this thing to a line tool because its closing price, the significance is also still there. So when I do that and I move this chart open, and I bring this line in, you can see if I put it in on the tops, our price honors these levels, whether it's that or that. Now you kind of know. So now I can tweak it and move it around, but that's the thing. I remember I told you that these lines means nothing other than that it's our measurement of what was done and what will probably be done into the future. We still have to trade supply and demand levels, and that would be a different lesson. But okay, when I do that then and I start taking this and I move that line up there, guess what? Oops, wrong line there, supply line. They line up. Guess what? If I take this down to the bottom and I start bringing up these bottoms, they will line up as well.
Magic.
That's the power of these things. You can bring these lines in and you can find as many probabilities as you would want. Now, still, I know it's not trading. It's just a way for us to find the roadmap and create a layer that sets us up to look for confluence. I would rather want to act when price is close to one of these lines as opposed to when price is sitting right there in the middle of nowhere in this area over here. Case in point, there's still going to be more tier, and that's where we use our fib levels and those things. And an example of that, I'm just going to bring a quick fib level out. Lee, what's my 50% fib? The one that I like to use.
Oh, you just said it, 50%.
Yeah, there it is. Boom. And so that would be the way that I would calculate the buy. I've got demand line sitting over there. I have got all the reason for me to grab that one. Okay, so let's get back to case in point. So it works in the past, so hopefully it will work in the future. So what do? If we look at this chart, Lee, this is where we were in the past. I'm going to bring this one in, and we're in the same area, in my opinion, in the present at this stage. So now let's go back to this chart and take the same lines. We can take it somewhere right here from the middle. We can take it and move it over here and start saying, okay, right, what is happening over here today? So this is where we're at now. Take this line, and I go to the top. I start moving it in there. What am I getting? I'm just going to make the axis line a little bit bigger and longer. What do we get? You can see how significant price is revolving around this level, similar than to what it did in the past, in this area over here. Trend is down. Okay, so now if I do the same, where would supply be? Well, supply would be sitting over there. Supply in the future will be sitting over there. As you can see, is already there. And you can now draw trend lines that has only 1 point. That's the magic. So if I do exactly the same now with the demand on this side, saying, okay, what am I experiencing over here? I'm looking at this range over here. That is where demand starts kicking in. That is where demand starts kicking in. And demand. Now, the reason I'm using demand is purely because it's below axis. Price falls and people will buy it up at those levels. Now, let's quickly remove it. I give you guys these targets and I give you imbalances, and then for some reason I would say sell now. I'm selling at 29k, or I'm selling at 34k, or at 45k like the last time round. And then people argue with me and tell me, you know, how crazy I am and stupid for doing this. And hey, I can get it wrong because I've shown you how many lines are there. But for some reason, you know, when I throw those things, people think that there's a lot of randomness behind it, but there isn't. I'm looking at these levels and I'm taking a high probability bet that those levels, those price points will actually act out. So if I bring back this chart, when we looked at this area here, and this is pretty much where a lot of people got to know us, is we were looking at this range. I gave you guys this buy and I said, get out there. People said, how? It's going to go to the moon. It didn't go to the moon. I gave you another buy and we were testing it and we got in there. And that's the same argument. Now, what do I say? Well, we wanted to see this imbalance filled. You can clearly see our price is sitting there. And guess what? Look at that. Okay, maybe magic. Maybe it's just me saying to myself, hey, I'm looking at the higher probability setups. Okay, Lee, buddy, let's bring you back. So we taught you now how to use this, and I've given you an idea of how the power is going to be. It's your job now to take responsibility and redraw this on your own charts and on any other coin that you have. Because if you think about it, if I were to do this on 14,000 coins out there, I will not be done by the time that the next season is out. All the coins probably died. So you go and have a look at your own portfolio and apply this and just look at what are sensible lines that you need to consider going forward. That's it. Lee, anything else I might have forgotten, buddy? Oh, supply and demand zones. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back into the past. I'm just going to show you guys this.
But you also said you can keep it for the next lesson. I mean, there's a lot to digest already on that. That's around 27.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is maybe, Lee, let me just give them I'll give you guys just something to be excited about, because this thing changes the whole thing again. So what I'm going to do is just a little taster. Lee, should we give them a taster?
I see comment. I mean, great to see, but difficult to replicate.
If it was easy, buddy, think about it. If it's easy, it wouldn't work. So you need to go and learn this. I mean, simple. You want to know how to make money infinitely for the rest of your life?
Guys, I've been following Rodo. We've been trading together for how many years now? This axis line in the middle is really the most, difficult part to see. But once you have that line, then the rest is easy. Copy paste this axis line has become really easy. It's just the first step that is a little bit more difficult to see.
So, but I'm here every day. So that's the thing. So it makes it for you easy in the sense that you can come here and you can look at how we do it and go and learn again. Okay. So I'm going to bring back my screen and I want to show you guys something nice and fun. And this is supply and demand zones. Now, don't confuse them between supply and demand trend lines. Okay, supply and demand zones does the following thing. It shows you where momentum and really starts taking a turn and where we can then expect difference, or where promises are going to sit within the order books. Now, if I look at this specific one over here, what do we have? Well, we've had supply sitting over there. So let's draw a supply zone in there. So supply zone, what does that mean? Well, a lot of people shorted there. If price goes above it, they will probably be forced to buy back. And for this argument, I'm just going to move it up to the zones there, because I mean, there's a lot of wicks there. There's a lot of stuff happening over there. Then I can move this down and I can move it to the next area over here where we can see, well, there was a lot of supply sitting in that range there. And subsequently, we had more supply sitting in this area over here, between that range there and over there. And we had more supply sitting in there, a huge supply zone for that matter. So now let's hit the play button and let's just let this thing run. So the argument is, once price reaches the supply zone, what will happen? Well, there's a lot of promises for price to move through these ranges. A lot of buyers that's going to be forced to buy this at that range. So let's see how the supply zone happens and how price trades within these areas. So I'm just going to press play for you. So you can see where price trades a lot. It's in the gaps. Once it moves out of those areas, let's play a little bit. Oh yeah, and then while we're there, I'll just use this little demand zone and line and put it in there for you guys. You can see where price trading a lot. Those areas are where we need to be careful. See, look at how price leaves those areas. Pause. I'm going to leave it there. Okay. So now you've got two things to help you when to take action. When we are stuck within a little gap like that, time to take action. When we enter a gap like that, it's time to sit on your hands. You should have taken action. So if your argument is you want to go long, where do you want to take action? Below any of these zones. And if you want to take profit, where do you need to take action? Above some of these zones. And this is a case in point of it. So there we deleted all these zones and price goes and drives through them aggressively. Why? Because it's simple. There's promises to buy. So whether we like it or not, people had to buy back that were shorting the market. Boom. Now, if you look at where we are today, let's just cancel that. You're going to have identical scenarios playing out now. And that's what we have to be patient and waiting for. So if we look at these areas here, where do we have supply? Well, we've got supply stuck over there. We've got supply stuck over there. We've got supply stuck over there. And we've got supply stuck currently where we're in now. So what happens if price manages to start toppling these levels? We start getting momentum that allows us to leave a range. Simple as that. Okay, that's my lesson for today. Guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Lee, did you enjoy it at least, my buddy?
Always. When you show me those magics, always on a screen like this, always. Can you maybe draw one or two lines on Telos?
Well, that's the whole Telos analysis. I did exactly just that. So let's show you. Now, if you look at this Telos lines, I think you guys it should make sense now.
Yeah.
Well, before we do this, let's go to the DXY. Remember what I said about the DXY? Why I'm thinking that our turn to start getting bullish long term is coming. Because guess what? Now, when you have this armed with this knowledge, look at this. Look at how price is moving down. This is the midterm one. Price is sitting right at a rejection point. And that's the demand or supply zone that I would want to see price push away from. So there you've got it. You've got a macro trend pointing down. We know when it goes down, that's when Bitcoin does well. We've got a history of that. So we're in an area where if we want to go down, now we're almost at that stage to go down.
So if we go above that level, we go to 100 towards that red line.
We'll probably then have to delay our bullish sentiments. And like I said, I don't get to choose which one I want. I have to trade what the market gives me. So analysis fails, but the recipe or the setup that we stick to the same analysis thesis. So if we then move to Telos, this is the same argument that I did there. There's the momentum line, guys. I mean, I cannot make that a momentum line. I can find 1,000 lines of this, but there's the axis. There's the price honoring the axis. And if we look at the future, where we drew it out, you can see how price is moving around this level. There you go. You can see how it's sitting around the level. So there it is. And we gave you guys the buy for anybody that was late on Telos. There's the grab a buy. Have you made a higher high though? No. So your stop's still sitting at your entry. You can maybe move it out to break even because it's not the sweet spot place to buy. So if you get stopped at a break even, you tried, it didn't work, and then we'll probably have another stab at around this range when we enter that demand line with a demand zone probably giving us significance or a fib level or support level, whichever one we think as the higher probability one, and that's how we get the next buy. And then we haven't even layered in oscillators like the RSI and even the fib levels, and that's how we get to where we are and how we get these price points. And sadly, still get them wrong sometimes. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Lee, thanks a lot, buddy. Tomorrow, it's all you, my friend. I'm going to be sitting at the back and playing with the little music buttons. That's all that I'm going to be doing.
Okay, let's try it.
Who's ready for another Lee masterclass? Unless Bitcoin starts giving us something to chart about, because, it's been horrible. Right, I think it's it. Guys, please hit likes and share with friends. I mean, teach the guys, help people out there to get to the right lines, higher probability levels. It just makes for easier trading. Can we sign this one off, Lee?
Well done, well done, buddy.
Okay,
Magic.
guys, as ever, keep hustling.
Keep hustling.